guys, it's Nurse J at Nursing the Truth. Hope everyone is having a great day today. Sorry I haven't been with you over the weekend. I went over to see my father-in-law with my husband, and so I took a break for the weekend on videos. So, as I was gone, I had received a comment of what is Gnosticism. Well, I kind of want to clarify some things on that because I lean more towards Egyptian spirituality, what they thought in their religion per se. And if you want to call the early Christians the Gnostics, these were people that were off the Jewish sects from Orthodoxy, and these people were from Egypt, Alexandria, Egypt, in that area. They were in the mystery schools and mystery systems, people like Pythagoras, and so on and so forth, were initiated in those things. Now, the big thing about Gnosticism is they knew that the Christ or that spirit is within them, and they didn't need anybody to come and die for their self or their salvation. Now, in Egyptian spirituality, Horus is considered the Christ or the Lord, and this is all metaphorically how they deal with the spirit and the spirit realm. Just as in Luke, this Jesus character in the scriptures says that there's no kingdom coming. The kingdom is within you. That is an Essene Nazarene therapeuti or therapeutai initiation and or a member. So, I don't need no one to come and save me from myself. I don't need anyone to come and tell me what I need to do. I myself am responsible for myself and what I do and how I treat others. Now, these people, they had a strict type of living. Now, you also have to read Gerald Massey's works. He was a phenomenal scholar. And you can find his books online for free. I suggest that you need to read Ancient Light of the World, about ancient Egypt. That ancient Egypt, my beloveds, brought everything to the world, including spirituality. So, yes, God thought this here with me, the truth, wisdom, and knowledge, and I will stand behind the true meaning of the Gnostics. So, with that being said, now I just gave you a little bit of, these people called the Therapeutai, Essenes, Nazarenes. Some of them did break off. The Nazarenes and Essenes sometimes did have a splinter. But let me tell you some of the sayings from the book of the Nazarenes, okay? Blessed are the peacemakers, the just and faithful feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, and clothe the naked. When thou makest a gift, seek no witness whereof to mar thy bounty. Let thy right hand be ignorant of the gifts of the left. Such were common to all the Gnostic scriptures, going back to the Egyptian. This is a Nazarene saying from the book of Adam. No poor sculpture of earth has fashioned his throne. The palace of the king was not built up by earthly masons. And this is from an Egyptian hymn. He is not graven in marble, nor adored in sanctuaries. There is no building that can contain him. In the Egyptian Maxies of Annie, we read, the sanctuary of God abhors noisy demonstrations. Pray humbly with a loving heart, all the words of which are uttered in secret. He will listen to thy words. He will accept thy offerings. Exaggerate not the literal prescriptions. It is forbidden to offer more than is prescribed. Thou shalt make adorations in his name. These contain the essence of the early verses in the 6th chapter of Matthew, where the injunctions given are, sound not a trumpet before thee, pray in secret to thy Father, which is in secret, and he shall recompense thee. And in praying, use not vain repetitions. And Annie denotes one of the names of Tot, T-A-H-T, who, as Mattai, equals Matthew. Tot sounds like Thoth, Tahuti, Thoth. Wrote down the sayings of the Lord, some of which are among these maxims. But unfortunately, you cannot prove anything, or still more unfortunately, you can prove anything from the Gospels. You must first catch your Jesus before you pretend to tell us what he was personally like and what were his own individual teachings. These sayings of mine cannot be judged as his if they were pre-existent, and can be proved to be anyone's sayings, or may be identified as ancient sayings, whether Buddhist, Nazarene, apocryphal, or Egyptian. Also, there are different versions of the same sayings in the gospel. In Matthew we read, blessed are the that are hungry and thirst after righteousness. In Luke it is, blessed are ye that hunger now. And in Matthew, blessed are the poor in spirit. And in Luke, blessed be ye poor. Woe unto you that are rich. Which then is the version that is personal to Jesus the Nazarene? Or where is the sense of claiming that the personal Jesus was an Essene or a Nazarite? One of these who never touched wine or strong drink, when one of the inspired writers testifies that he was described as a glutton, a wine bibber, and according to another, his first miracle was turning water into wine. The original healers were called Essenes or the Therapeutae. Lots of information you can dig on this cult. The dawn of civilization arose in my beloved Egypt, my home away from home, with healing in its wings. That, my dear truth seekers, Gnostics, pagans, that verse is in Malachi in the 4th chapter. The Son of Righteousness with healing in its wings. The sun disk of Ra. Egypt was the land of physicians through all her monumental history, and amongst the nations of antiquity she stands a head and shoulders above the rest of the world. First in time and preeminent in attainment, Egypt was the great physician of the human race, and she sent out her medical missionaries from the earliest times. The Essenes were the same as the therapeutae and healers, and they are the healers by name in Egyptian. Philo of Alexandria farther identifies their name with Isa in Hebrew for healing. But Egypt had given birth to the Essenic name and therefore to the person's name before the letter E existed. And that was previous to the Middle Empire, which ended over 4,000 years ago. In Old Egyptian, the word Usha means to doctor, whence the Ushai, later Ishai, or Essenes are the healers and physicians. And Josephus states he compared the Pythagoreans with the Egyptian therapeutae or Alexandrian Essenes, and attempts have been made to show the derivation of Buddhist doctrines from India, the Pythagoras, whose name has been derived from Put. But the Egyptian Putha, the original of Buddha, as he suggested, is indefinitely older than any Buddha in India. Therefore, as Pythagoras was learned in the wisdom of Egypt and was a teacher of it, it states that his name should derive from Putha, which is Ptah, the voice or the word, as a teacher of the cult of Ptah, the opener of the Lord of life. Also, when he entered the first stage of the Essene mysteries as a student of divinity, the initiate was presented with an axe. That is the Egyptian hieroglyph of divinity called the neuter, the sign with which the name of the priest, prophet, or holy father was written. There were both Egyptian and Jewish communities of the healers preceding those that were known by the Christian or Gnostic names. And Jerome calls the Essenes, the therapeutes, the monks of the old law. And Pythagoras speaks of a monk of great renown who belonged to a sect of the Gnostics and dwelt near Alexandria and were known by name as the Christian Gnostics. Clement of Alexandria also claimed to be a Gnostic Christian. And the life of the so-called Christian hermits was first commenced in Egypt. Ages earlier, there have been Egyptian communities of recluses, both male and female, near the Serapeum of Memphis, which were supported by the state. In Philo's letter to Hephaestion, he states the cells of the Egyptian healers are scattered about the region on the farthest shore of Lake Mareotis in Egypt. And Pliny speaks of the ages on ages, during which the Essenes had existed. And Epiphanius, about the year 400, says the Essenes continue in their first position and have not changed at all. And of course demands a long period of iteration, but it is enough for the present argument to know they were extant for at least 150 years before the Christian era. And Epiphanius also admits that the Christians at first were called therapeutae and Essenes as equivalent name, as he explains for the Essenes. They were healers and doctors. Also in Greek, the verb for healing comes from the same root as the name of Jesus, and the Essenes were healers. Not because they were the workers of mythical miracles like Jesus in the Gospels, but because they were profound student of nature's secret powers. Because they were masters of the sciences and mental medicine, consciously able to draw on the spirit world for healing influences. They had discovered that health was infectious as well as disease, and that the capacity for receiving and giving as a medium of the higher life depended on conditions that could be cultivated in this life. They were healers by virtue of the Christ within. The Christ within. Again, we learn from Pseudo-Dionysius, the Areopagite, that the name of healer, i.e. the Essene, or therapeutic, whom Eusebius calls the curate, were employed in the early church to denote the perfected adept who had attained the highest standing, just as it was with the earlier Essenes. Philo of Judaeus, who was one of the Essenes, but does not seem to have met with the gospel Jesus amongst them or heard of him. Philo says of them, 3 things regulate all they learn and do: love God, love of virtue, and love for man. A proof of the first is the matchless sanctity of their entire life. They fear of oaths and lies, and the conviction that God is the only originator of good and never of evil. Never. Even Josephus was an Essene at one time and never speaks of a Jesus. The Essenes were spiritualists who walked with open sight and could never become the blind followers of a shut-eye faith of the historicizers, who banned the malignant spirit of free inquiry. As spiritualists, they could not and did not believe in the resurrection of the body. Consequently, a corporal resurrection of the Christ was a fundamental fallacy upon which no Gnostic or Essene could found at any time. The Christ according to the flesh, that they repudiated anointing with oil and considered it to be a filthy defilement. Therefore, their Christ did not depend upon any external anointing and baptism at the age of 30, and they never could become Christians as the anointed ones. They were the opponents of all blood sacrifices, animals or humans. The only sacrifice upheld by them was that of thyself, their ego. Therefore, they did not accept the bloody sacrifice of the incarnate Son of God when it was proclaimed. The Essenes, as Gnostics, held that every man must be his own Christ. Their Christ came within. The Christ that could not become historical without, in the minds of those who knew historical Christianity, was repudiated beforehand, and it was an impossible. After the facts were forged, the falsehood established, and the dogma was founded as it was before. Consequently, those Gnostics who had been anti-Christians beforehand were of necessity anti-Christians afterwards. Oh, this is good as well. All of this is Egyptian, my friends. Who then are the ones they are called the worthy? That is, as with the Essenes, those who have stood the test, proved faithful, and have been found worthy. According to the canonical account, these were the prehistoric Christians, what they call Essenes, Nazarenes, the worthy, the faithful, or the brethren of the Lord. Peace be with you. Was the greeting or password of the Essenes and also of the Nazarenes, to judge from its appearing in the book of Adam and in the instructions given to the 70. It is said, into whatsoever house ye enter first say, peace to this house. After the resurrection, the mystic password is employed 3 times over by the risen Christ, and he who comes with peace is the name of the Egyptian god. I am Hept, the son of Atum, who is the coming son, is Isu. We also learn from Clementine homilies that the mystery of the scriptures, which was taught by or ascribed to Christ, was identical with that which from the first had been communicated to those who were the worthy. We may learn from the gospel according to Luke that the worthy were those who had been initiated into the mysteries of the Gnosis and who were accounted worthy to attain that resurrection from the dead in this life, which Paul was not altogether sure about. Those who knew that they could die no more, being equal with the angels as the sons of God and the sons of the resurrection. Such were then extant as prehistoric Christians. Well, friends, I hope I have cleared what Gnosticism is, and for my dear beloved truth seekers, why Nurse Jane is an Egyptian Gnostic. It all makes sense, my friends. Man did not fall, and we are not dirty scumbags like the Roman Catholic Church wants us to believe, and even the Protestant Church. We are the sons and daughters of the Creator consciousness, whoever and whatever you want to call God. Amen, Atum, Amen Ra, whatever it is to you. We are here to learn, and we are here to make amends. The world is becoming conscious on a daily basis, and we are coming out of this amnesia. We're coming out of the delusion of this church, people. We all have to go back to our mother roots of Egypt, and she is still there, waiting on us, calling us, and screaming out at the top of her lungs, look at me, my children, come back to me. I have the answers. Just open my ancient wisdom and documents, and you will find what you are looking for. Nurse J has searched far and wide, and I have read, and all the stuff, all the metaphysical, all the quantum physics, all of the spiritual things that we have when we recognize that we have the power within us, we have the Christ within us. When we nail the old to the cross, the new can come out. And we are resurrected as new beings. And it's sad to know that the Gnostics were burned alive and chopped up and murdered by the millions for the truth of Egypt. My friends, Egypt is where it's at, and it's still there. The pyramids of Giza are still standing strong, and they're not going anywhere, my friends. Thoth Tahuti taught, the scribe of John. You were looking at him. He wrote down all of the sayings of the Lord. Horus, the Christ. Horus, the Lord. And each one of us are Christ's. Until next time, when you find the truth, let the truth set you free, my friends. And me and Thoth, the scribe of the gods, we'll see you next time, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hotep, Ashe, and we'll see you later. Have a great day.